Hello and welcome. I am Scarpalock, and this is City of Heroes on the Rebirth server. We are with our brute, Quintessence Lass, who's level 26. Over half a million XP earned, 27,000 to go to get to level 27 in our next set of enhancements. And we are in Croatoa. I had forgotten about this, and fortunately, whichever contact I talked to next sent me to Croatoa. And ordinarily, I'm like, yeah, I don't want to have to do this for like sort of tutorial. But actually, this time I'm happy about it because I otherwise it would have completely forgotten about Croatoa, and I would have been trying to do missions in um, Talos Island or Independence Port. So, we getting ambushed here? Can't be ambushed. These guys will save us. So I talked to this guy who is Gordon Bauer, and he has us. First, he had us. It wasn't a story arc, so I was just trying to get to a story arc. He had me go down the street here and beat up some furbolgs. So this is. So this. Let's just take you on a little tour. I don't know if I've ever like really shown this. I can't remember if I deliberately I did this, but I don't know if I was able to publish those videos. So this is Salamanca. That was the name of this district. There's even a university here and everything. And it was what we're going to learn about it as we go through these story arcs is it was basically overrun. And here's the university. It was overrun by magical powers and basically like fey creatures from like the City of Heroes equivalent of the Feywild. And so he's asked us to defeat the Tuatha. So this is our first mission on the story arc. He says the Furbolg aren't the only threat because he beat up some Furbolg, which look like walking like scarecrows and pumpkins. There's also the Tuatha de Danann, and I have no idea how you're supposed to say that because it's some kind of like Irish or Gaelic type of pronunciation. The Tuatha de Danann. It's probably said like Tuagalon or something. Anyway, they're the most hideous creatures I've ever seen. They seem to like water. We have a hard time keeping them out of the village fountain. We've all but given up keeping them out of the sewers. That's where I want you to help. So we got to go to the sewers and take them out of there. So this is the beginning of this first story arc, and I think this is like the other zones like this, where there's a chain of story arcs. And so we're going to just go ahead and start with the sewers. Don't think we will. I suspect we will not level up in this episode, but probably early in the next. But it just depends on how big the missions are and how many guys we have to fight and how quickly we can fight them. Now, I have no idea how we're going to do against the Tuatha because I've never fought them before, but I don't think they're anything special, so let's see. First of all, let's see do they have any resistance. It looks like, oh wow, it looks like they are in fact quite resistant. Let's try to do some soul drain here. I might have gotten in over my head. I think I did. Alright, so we got one there. Yeah, so I try to do those AoEs nice and quick so that we could get ourselves out of the little bit of trouble we were in there. But we're alright. Again, we're a brute. Look at the fury we've got. And we built up a lot of damage. So, that was cool. So there must have been some waiting in the corner over here. And I don't know what my friend's PMing me right now over Google Talk. Unfortunately, I asked him a question. He didn't answer me, so I said, well, I'm not going to wait any longer. I feel like playing some City of Heroes. I keep wanting to I keep wanting to work on my D&D solo game, but it's been really brutal. The first solo adventure I bought is, and I'll get back to why he's constantly PMing me with massive amounts of text. He's just gonna have to wait for me to respond. But I bought this one PDF adventure that is an actual solo adventure for second level characters, supposed to be for one character, and it's written by a guy who wrote I think the guy who wrote the Solo Adventurers Toolbox, which is also about. Oh, these guys are actually digging animations. That's cool, where they're actually made a hole in the sewer. Anyway, uh, it's designed to be played by yourself with a single character. You don't need sidekicks or anything. And you start at level 2, and there's a level 2 adventure, a level 3 adventure, a level 4 adventure, and a level 5 adventure. It's sort of like a little story arc. I think each adventure takes, a couple hours, couple of 3-4 hours. So, like, if you play it, say, an hour at a time, it's a couple sessions. I find myself not, when I'm solo playing, not wanting to play like a 3 or 4 hour session the way you would play uh, with a group of players, but more doing something kind of like this, where you just play for an hour and then you find something else to do. So, anyway, I want to play it, but it starts at second level, and I really don't like starting at second level. I wish he had a first level adventure, and unfortunately he doesn't. So I said, well, I'm going to just get myself to from first to second level, and he actually put out a first level kind of random adventure where you basically, oh, that's no good. He just dealt pain. Where you basically, it, it's it gives you like this randomly generated quest. It works for any level character. It gives you a randomly generated quest. It gives you a randomly generated dungeon of a small size, like 8 or 10 rooms, and you go through until you get through, and like you sort of build up, I don't know, clues, and when you have all the clues, you fight a randomly generated big bad evil boss. And I said, well, okay, that's great. I'll just do that. Well, it only didn't get me anywhere near level 2. It got me like 100 of the 300 XP you need to get to level 2. So I said, all right, well, I'll just have my character adventure overland. It's in the Forgotten Realms. I'll just have my character adventure overland. I want to get out of this mud. I'll have my character adventure overland to the city where this thing takes place. And my friend's still messaging me, and I will get to him in a sec. But anyway, well, adventuring overland wasn't getting me enough XP either, but then I randomly blundered into like a map to a dungeon, like a mine, an abandoned mine. This was randomly generated that's what it was. And so I said, all right, well, I'll just have my paladin go into the abandoned mine and, build up experience. So he's just sort of wandering around these random rooms. There's no purpose to it. And I'm really just trying to get him to level 2. And I could just make him level 2, but I just hate doing that. I rather actually get it legit, like with actual combat. It's just that the sorts of monsters you can fight by yourself at level 1 only give you enough XP to, like, go up maybe 20 points. So he's fought, like, 2 rats that were worth 10 XP each. He fought, like, a Zvart that was worth, like, 25 XP and something else that was worth, like, 25. So he's gone through, like, 3 rooms of this 10-room dungeon. And he's got, like, gained, like, 40, maybe 60 XP, something like that. And he's sitting at, like, 180 XP and still needs, like, 120 to go. So it's taking me a long time, and I haven't really kind of perfected how I want to do the soloing in terms of like journaling and stuff. I've been doing it in Foundry, but I'm not sure if that's really the best option because I'm rolling dice and I'm reading PDF files, and there's a way to read PDF files in Foundry, but it's kind of awkward. And so I'm not sure, like, and also the map drawing of Foundry is like if you have a map you drew in Dungeon Draft or Wonder Draft, it's great, but like to draw like live on a blank slate in Foundry is actually really awful. I got to see if there's a mod to improve that. But anyway, so I'm just not in the mood to continue grinding through that dungeon. I did a little bit this afternoon, but I'm just not in the mood for it. So I said, I'm going to play some City of Heroes. But before I did that, I messaged him, and he was talking about how his group almost had a total party kill, or a TPK, in the Waterdeep adventure that he's doing on Sundays. And what I asked him was, how are you enjoying the adventure? Right? I have never asked him like about the DM, because I don't think it's appropriate for me to ask him to, like, say, compare that DM to me. That's really not fair to him. It's not fair to the other DM. He knows me. He doesn't know the other DM. He's only ever met the other DM playing, like, on Discord remotely and stuff. It really isn't fair to ask him to do that comparison. He knows what anyone would want to hear, which is, you're a better DM than he is. It's not fair. Like, asking a parent to pick between their children. So I've never asked him how that DM is, or any of his other DMs are. What I asked him was, how's the adventure? Because what I've heard is that of the published D&D hardback adventures, of the ones out there, and there are many, there's like 18 of them or something, that Waterdeep, it consistently gets the best reviews, and it's consistently rated as the best, one of the best, if not the best, right? That, the Dragon of Icespire Peak, Curse of Strahd, Ghost of Saltmarsh, and Tomb of Annihilation are generally the ones that are given the best reviews by everybody who reviews. Right? Now, not everybody puts them in the same ranking, but everybody ranks those up there at the top. Like those are and Lost Mine and Phandelver. Those are kind of like the top 5 or 6. And Waterdeep is usually listed as number 1 or 2, maybe 3. And so he's playing that one. He's also playing Prince of the Apocalypse, which usually doesn't get good ratings, and Rime of the Frost Maiden, which is too new to have been rated. But my impression is it's sort of middle of the road. And so I just asked him, how's Waterdeep? And he's just spamming me. So I have the feeling there's a lot to say about it, whether he's saying it's great or terrible or some combination in between. Like the DM's great, the adventure's terrible, the adventure's great, the DM's terrible. I don't know. Um, we know that this group had trouble. The 2 of the original players bailed, and then a new player was added. And the first session, the 2 players that bailed weren't there, and then they were there and kind of steamrolled the second session, which ticked everybody else off. And then the DM kicked them out of the group, and then they got a new player. So, in fairness to that DM, I suspect with the amount of text he's sending me, he's criticizing that DM. In fairness to that DM has had a pretty rocky road in terms of the players, right? He had like 3 good players, 2 bad ones that left. Now he's got another good one, but that player's newer and had to be added awkwardly to the group. The group decided they were going to be investigators, and like a detective agency, and it was the couple who were like the jerks and ended up getting kicked from the group that decided to be the detective agency, then didn't show up for the first session to implement it, and then showed up for the second session and then were kicked out. And so this detective agency is a brainchild of the players who aren't there anymore, which I'm sure makes it extremely awkward for both the GM and the players. I'm not sure it's fair to like really criticize this GM, given the struggles that he's had over the last 2 months running this thing. But I don't know what he's saying, because I'm going to give you guys my undivided attention until we're done with the next mission or so. And once this episode's over, I'll read his text and respond to it. So he says, I've heard several witnesses report the Tuatha roaming around Salamanca. We want you to expel them. So this is now defeat 10. I'm going to pause it here. I'll respond to his messages, and I'll bring you guys back after we've defeated 10 Tuatha, because there's no point to watching that. Alright, we are back, and we've defeated the Tuatha, who are actually rather annoying to find, because a lot of the ones around the lake, if you go too far, you can see where I've been. If you go too far on either side, like it doesn't count. It had to be in this zone, and I didn't realize it, so I went a little over, and I defeated like 20 of them before I realized some of it wasn't counting. Tuatha De Danann, the Tuatha De Danann, or whatever that is, and the Furbolg seem to be locked in some kind of eternal battle. I don't know what caused it or what keeps it going, but I do know that my people have nothing to do with it. Of course, try explaining that to a 12-foot walking pumpkin. We've had a lot of people get caught in the crossfire these last few months. I've just received word that the Furbolg managed to get into the local warehouse, and the Tuatha cornered them there. I need you to get in there and save the citizens. So that's good. That's what we want to hear. We want to be heroes and save people. Salamanca is actually really cool. I actually had a character who lives here. In the that's my friend messaging. I'll tell you what he was saying in a bit, because it's quite interesting. On the Homecoming server, I have a sentinel named, oh gosh, what is her name? She's a French girl. So I came up with a really cool French name for her, and I can't remember it now. Odette Desmarais. And she actually goes to school here. I mean, there are people who attend classes here and stuff, right? It's not completely deserted here. In fact, there were some students lounging on the ground right here a few minutes ago. I guess they despawned. But yeah, she's here like learning magic. Her family is from. I actually looked up like where French witches are supposed to have been from like years ago, and I picked this like little marshy area because I think Desmarais means by the marsh or something. I can't remember now, but she like lived by the moors in this like misty part of France where supposedly real world witches lived, and she her her grandmother whatever was this well-known witch, and so she sent Odette to this part of the world to like learn the magic of Croatoa and try to like clean it up. And so I was going to do a whole bunch of stuff here with that character, and then of course, I switched to Rebirth because of the Homecoming recording ban, so I haven't played her, and they don't have Sentinels here, so I couldn't remake her here. All right, so we're going to go in here, and I can tell you what my friend was saying. Boy, oh man, it sounds like the DM of this game is not doing things the way he likes them, and frankly probably wouldn't be doing them the way I like them. Although I do think, I think he's a little hard on his DMs, including me sometimes. I mean, I can take it. I'm a big boy, but this guy's a stranger, and you got to be kind of careful with that. Hopefully, he hasn't been complaining to him too much. It sounds like they have had some conversations. So, and let me tell you why I think he's hard on DMs. I think he's DM'd too much, and I think that when you've DM'd a lot, when you've GM'd a lot, it can be extremely hard to unplug your brain from the GMing mindset. And as you're playing, there's just you can't help it. You will often, in your brain, you're thinking, that's not how I would do it. It's very hard not to be a backseat GM. It's extremely difficult. I was certainly thinking it with my friend who was gonna GM before I did in our D&D game. I never said a word to him, and every time I caught myself thinking it, I said no, don't think that way. And it's very hard not to think a way that you're inclined to think. It's super difficult to just like. It's sort of like the episode of Everybody Loves Raymond where it's like doing a flashback where he saw the woman that he married, Deborah, naked by accident, and he couldn't stop thinking about it. And his brother says, "Don't think about it." And he says, "It's not that easy." And his brother says, "Why not?" And he says, "Here, let me give you an example. Don't think about zebras. Go." And his brother says, "Wow." Right? It's not easy if I tell you don't think about something to not think about it. If you're just inclined to think something, it's hard not to. So, he's a game master, and these guys are hitting the crap out of me. My fire defense isn't that bad. He's been a DM. He's a very good DM, which is the other problem. He's an excellent DM. He's experienced. He's done it a lot. He's run campaigns to level 20 in 3rd edition D&D. To make matters a little bit worse, he kind of knows how good he is, which makes it a little bit worse because, like, if he had doubts as to how good of a DM he was, if he had like self-esteem issues as a DM, he wouldn't be as inclined to be critical, I think. But I think it's very difficult for him to play and not constantly be evaluating how would I do this if I were running this, if I were running this game. And it's so hard not to do that. And again, as I said, I was kind of getting stuck in that mindset with my friend and coworker who was going to run Forgotten Realms for us, right? My first thought was, oh man, if it were me, I wouldn't be doing Forgotten Realms. My next thought was some of the other stuff that he was doing. I was like, if it were me, I would have a session 0. He didn't really do that, right? He just opened up his D&D Beyond, made a campaign in D&D Beyond, and invited everybody to it just to make up characters. And then people were like putting these characters with no names in, and they weren't actually doing anything. And I was thinking, boy, if it were me, I would be emailing, blah blah blah, telling people, look, either get a character set up or get out of the campaign, whatever. Um, and to be honest, it's been so long, I don't remember all the things that I was thinking. But I never said a word to him. 100% would never have said anything. And it was very hard not to think it, and very hard not to say, you know what, I wish I were DMing because I think I could do a better job. You know what I mean? It's sort of really hard not to do that after you've been DMing. You obviously are going to DM in a way that you enjoy the style of, right? Which means you're always going to prefer your own adventures to any adventure that anybody else ever runs, stylistically, mechanically, thematically, right? Because you did what you like. And so I think he kind of gets caught in that a little bit, even with me, right? And he is more so with this other DM. He's sent me a couple of pages, like actual, like, I don't know, a couple hundred words, if not more, maybe 3, 4, 500 words about this DM and what he's doing that this friend of mine doesn't like. And again, as he's describing it, I think I probably would also be not super thrilled about this either. He's doing things that stylistically in our game group we never did. So, one of the things my friend has complained about is that he said the DM has blatantly fudged die rolls to keep us from dying. Right now, it's really funny if you're an inexperienced DM, and if you haven't played tabletop role playing games, right? You'd say, why would anybody get mad at that, right? If the DM is going, you know, like I think what he said was the DM like cheated on critical hits so it wouldn't kill people and stuff. Well, that's a nice thing for the DM to do. He's trying not to kill the characters so that your player character can survive the game, right? I mean, you think it's the nice thing to do, but the reality is that most players, and absolutely my best friend, do not want you to go easy on them. Matt Colville has talked about this. He said, like as a DM, if you ask before you decide who the villain is going to attack, if you say how many hit points does everybody have, he said your players won't tell. They don't want to tell you. They don't like it. And he said a lot of beginning DMs think that that's because the players don't want you to know who's the weakest so that you attack them, but it's the opposite. They don't want to tell you because they're afraid if they say I only have 2 hit points, you'll go easy on them. And good players do not want, serious players do not want the DM to go easy on them. They want to know that if they won the fight, it was fair and square with the die rolls. It wasn't because the DM went easy on them. It was because they won the fight. They were better tactically than the bad guys. They did their spells better. They won. Right? They want to win fair and square. Which, by the way, is why I generally don't fudge die rolls. And you never, ever, ever, ever tell the players that you're fudging die rolls, because once you tell them that, then they know that essentially, no matter what else you're doing story-wise, this adventure is on rails, right? That the DM is not going to let anyone die unless he wants them to, and that basically the DM is going to overrule the dice, so there may as well not be dice. And you may as well be sitting there and let the DM say, this is what happens, and I'm not going to roll any dice, it's just going to be what I want, because that's essentially what he's doing. So here the DM, I'm sure, is trying to be kind, he's trying to be nice, he's trying not to kill everybody, he doesn't know some of these players at all. I don't think he knows any of them very well. And he's, also he's running a pre-written game, which is Waterdeep. And that game may presuppose a certain configuration of the party that maybe these guys aren't having or whatever, but it could potentially, and we're looking for 5 people to rescue people. We haven't found any yet? My goodness. We hadn't found any so long, I forgot I was rescuing people. It's a published adventure. So if they overdid it, I mean, supposedly Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus, it does overdo it. And, what am I being super debuffed here or something? And it's very easy to get a wipe. And apparently Curse of Strahd, the opening scene, is something called a death house. And it's very easy to get a wipe there as well. And so some of these published adventures are actually pretty hard. I'm surprised Waterdeep is, because Waterdeep's supposed to be more for beginners, both as DMs and players, because it's level 1 to 5. But the game writers don't know your party. They don't know your players. They don't know how experienced your players are. They don't know how experienced you are, and they don't know, they don't know what you're like. They can't know which parts of the adventure the players unwisely skipped. And so if you're just running it as is, which an inexperienced DM absolutely might, and we don't know how much experience this guy has. We thought he was experienced, but I suspect now maybe he's not. Um, it can be very hard to change that stuff on the fly because you're assuming it's correct and balanced, and until it's too late, you may not realize that this is too hard for your party, and now they're already dying. So I'm sure that the GM is trying to be nice, but most players don't want you to take it easy on them. They don't want to think that the only reason that they defeated these bad guys is because the DM didn't, like roll the dice and said, "Oh, just take 1 point of damage instead of the 20 that you were supposed to take that would have killed your 18 hit point character." Apparently, the GM has actually said things like, "Well, you guys are only 3rd level, so I rolled a crit hit, but we won't do that. It will just do regular damage." I would never ever do that. Um, if you're going to fudge the rolls, you should do it behind the screen. Now, I don't know what this guy's doing. If they're playing on Roll20, I don't know if he's rolling in the open. I mean, like, well, step 1, if you're planning to fudge, don't roll in the open. And then just say to the players, "Oh, darn, I rolled a natural 1 when you rolled a 20. They don't know, right? I mean, I have had sessions where my stupid metal die, awesome die that I bought because it was, the metal dice are often more balanced than the plastic dice, because the plastic dice can be very, very uneven on the inside, whereas the metal dice tend to be, pretty much even density. Man, I rolled like 2, 3, 4, 3 in one battle, and like the bad guys just never hit. And it happens sometimes. And then other times I've rolled, 3 crits on 4 rolls, which is rolling a natural 20. I tend to just tell them what happens. I roll some things in the open, mostly the saving throws, and I've talked about that before. And then to hit and damage, I don't even care about rolling in the open. I mean, I would roll actually in the open if we were together. It's just that I like rolling physical dice. So I'm going to keep doing that. So I don't know what they think about whether I may have fudged things or not, but they sure as heck don't know if I fudged anything. And the reality is, I'll be honest, I've fudged once or twice. Once I think I rolled a crit and I realized it was probably going to flatten somebody, and it was the new player, and I'm like, I don't want to flatten her right now. She's 2nd level. So I just said it hit, and I did, and I rolled the regular damage, and she had like 2 hit points left. That's what actually happened without the crit. So I'm like, yeah, I mean, I did what that DM did, right? I'm not going to crit the 2nd level character, mostly because it was a new player, and I did not want to do that to her, right? She hadn't healed herself when she probably should have, because she made a tactical mistake because she's a new player, right? She had a healing potion, and she didn't drink it. And the other players told her to drink it, and she said, "No, I think I'll wait." And they kind of were like, "Okay." And then I rolled a crit on her. Now, the experienced players knew you should drink a healing potion here. She didn't, because she was a new player, and she didn't have a good calibration in her head for just how much damage somebody with, say, like a battle axe and maybe strength bonus could do to you when you only have like 10 hit points. And, so then I rolled a 20. I mean, like, okay, well, that was bad luck for her, and I'm not going to, like, it probably wouldn't have killed her, but it would have put her on the floor. And I just didn't want to do that to her at that point. So I just had it be a regular hit rather than a crit. But I didn't tell them that, right? I think that, that's, you just don't do that. It's like saying, "Look, you guys are bad, and I'm going to help you out." And she wasn't bad. She's just a new player and didn't understand, like exactly how to use potions and stuff yet. She didn't. Maybe she didn't even really realize that she was allowed to drink the potion in combat. I don't remember, but it's like one of maybe 3 times in 23 sessions I've ever fudged anything in favor of the players. There was another time when she rolled a perception check to find something I really wanted them to find, and she rolled a crap. She rolled like an 8, and I just let her find it anyway because I was like, yeah, I probably shouldn't have even made this a perception check because they needed to find it. It was an important document. And so I think those may be the only two times I've fudged. Um, and other than that, I've just kind of let them, you know, if they at this point, I mean, they're 6th level. If they die, they die. I'm not going to save them. And I've told them all along, that my way of taking it easy on them has been. I am not saving the right inspirations here. My way of taking it easy on them has been to take it easy on the monsters that I stock into the dungeon. And I did that, and I told them that I was, I didn't tell them I was doing that. What I said is, after they hit 4th level, I said the kid gloves are off. I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna try to necessarily scale the encounters for you guys. You may have to. Ooh, boss, why is he hurt? That sucks. I would rather fight the whole boss. It's like fighting only half a boss. Um, I don't know who was fighting him, but I told him, yeah, I'm not gonna go. I've said I've been going easy on you in terms of like the number of enemies you encounter and stuff. I'm not gonna take it. You're done. That's over with now. If you screw up and blunder into a room that has a lot of bad guys, you're gonna get killed, and I'm not gonna save you. And so they were all like, that's fine. And they recognized, and I know the veteran players know with the goblins that they were fighting and stuff that I was taking it easy on them with who I was stalking in the dungeons, right? But once they got into battle, I didn't do anything to stop them from taking damage and stuff. They want a challenge, so the guy actually told them, I rolled a crit, but I'm not going to do it. And then he actually told them, I think, they opened 2 secret doors at the same time, and there were monsters behind both secret doors. And he actually told them, well, there were actually supposed to be monsters behind both these doors, but because you guys are 3rd level, I won't do that. And there were what are they, troglodytes? And where'd you go? Is it an ambush? Okay, they were troglodytes and goblins or something. And he said, I'm not going to have you fight the troglodytes because it would overwhelm you. Again, you shouldn't do that, right? Just don't have the troglodytes be there. And we've leveled up, guys. I didn't think we were going to get here this level, but we certainly did. It's only 2 missions. Well, you know what? I did that other mission in between. But yeah, I mean, I totally agree with my friend that the DM should not be saying this stuff. And apparently my friend contacted the DM after the game in chat, or talked, they stayed in and had a little chat afterwards, and he said, look, if you want to fudge things, fine, but don't tell us, right? Like, you shouldn't do that. And he agreed not to do it anymore. So I don't know, this makes me think that maybe the DM is a little bit inexperienced, because I think most experienced DMs wouldn't do that. You don't flat out right tell somebody, I'm going to cheat in your favor, right? You just don't. So I don't know. As I said to this friend of mine, I think it's actually perfectly okay to allow the players to have a little bit of a peek behind the curtain. For example, I don't know if I told him, but I told the new player, actually. We chatted on the phone after they went to the astral zone, and what actually happened to them was, I don't know where this other prisoner is. What actually happened to them was they went to the astral zone. They got sucked into the astral zone by this maelstrom, and after having been sucked into the astral zone, they were attacked by Githyanki, and then a big pirate ship, captained by my best friend, the same guy's, his character's girlfriend, this giant pirate ship saved them from the Githyanki, and so they agreed to go with the pirate ship to their cove and meet their captain and stuff, and didn't give me a lot of trouble about it. I was very concerned that they were going to try to fight the pirate ship and kill this guy's girlfriend before we got a chance to really roleplay with her. And so I told this player that, and I've said this here, and I guess we're gonna have to go down the elevator because we must have missed somebody. I wish these guys would make the same noise as the glowies. As I said here, I told her I originally had written that part and planned for months, by the way. I mean, months. From, I want to say, April or May of last year, when I decided to make this girl a pirate, to, I want to say, January of this year. I mean, we're talking 7 or 8 months. Okay, are these the NPCs? There's only one left. Um, 7 or 8 months I had planned to have the pirate ship capture them. Come along, the captain of their ship, beg them not to fight. The pirate ship captures them. Then I'm like, they're gonna have to take their weapons. They're gonna tie them up. They're gonna gag them because they can cast magic spells. Are the players really gonna sit for this? Is it really not gonna seem too railroady? And I was very concerned about that. But the original was they were going to get captured. Now, was I not in this room? They were going to get captured first, and then go to the astral zone with the pirates. Didn't I come in here? How did I miss these guys? I thought I stood right on top of this. How did they not aggro to me? So I planned for months and months and months for them to get captured, and then kind of at the last minute I thought, you know what, that's not going to work. Let's have them do it the way I actually did it, where they go to the astral zone first and then the pirates save them. Now, I told her that, right? But that's just a peek behind the curtain at how a game master comes up with a story idea and then months later changes his mind and does something different. And as I've told my best friend, I've told her this as well, most of their adventures, what they actually see is my third, fourth, fifth cut at it. Yes, I knew they were going to go to the um, lost temple of the reptile gods or whatever. First, it was a temple, then it was a necropolis, then there was a temple in the necropolis, then somebody got kidnapped and brought to the temple. And this is like my seventh or eighth cut at that adventure before they actually went in. And there were a whole bunch of ideas, and there are the students laying there. There are a whole bunch of ideas that just end up on the cutting room floor, and that's just the normal writing process. But I would never do something like say, well, when you opened that door, there was supposed to be. When they fought actually in the Temple of the Reptile Gods, they fought this evil UNT like necromancer who was able to summon skeletons as a reaction to the skeleton going down. He could make it get back up and have one hit point, and as a bonus action, he could summon another skeleton. And there were supposed to be, I think, 6 skeletons in the room with him, and they walked in without having rested the party, and they were pretty beat up. So when I just deleted 2 of the skeletons while they were walking in on the map, so that there were only 4 of them. And then I had him do the reaction to have them get up once, and I had him do the bonus action once. So the players think that he could only do it once. He could have done it every single round. Now, the reality is he was using his reactions sometimes for other things. He was doing a couple of other bonus actions because he had a couple of spells that were bonus actions. But this was like an 8-round battle. He could have summoned 3 or 4 more skeletons, and he could have raised a couple of the ones that were beaten up. But I thought, that's just going to be too much, and I just didn't have him do it. But this is months later, I have never told them that. I will never tell them that. I mean, maybe when they're 15th level, I might mention it. But like that was an awesome battle. They had a great triumph. Why would I want to come in later and say, you know what? You guys didn't really win that battle because there were supposed to be 3 more skeletons in there and others were supposed to be summoned. That's crappy, right? I looked at what was there and said that to make this a challenge, it should be a little weaker. Maybe it was overpowered for these guys, and it certainly was overpowered if they went in there without a long rest. Now, I told them, if you go in places without a long rest and you're supposed to be rested up, that's going to be your problem. But again, It was a really cool battle. They barely won. All of them were down to like single digit hit points at the end of it. And that was the most epic battle we'd had in the entire campaign up to that point. And I think it might still be the most epic battle because they were doing a skill challenge to keep the portal from opening that he was trying to summon. He was trying to summon a shadow dragon. Um, they were doing a skill challenge at the same time as the battle, so they were using their bonus actions to try and like reverse the ritual using their skills. And it was super fun. It was super exciting. It was super challenging. Got right down to the wire. They had to get 5 successes before there were 3 failures, and they were at 4-2. And the next roll was going to either close the portal or bring the shadow dragon, and they knew it, and they actually waited until the guy with the inspiration and the lucky feat was able to go, and he said, let me do it because I can re-roll if it's a bad roll. And that was really epic and exciting. And so his character shut that portal down, but then he wasn't very useful the rest of the battle because the guy got mad at him and then started attacking him, and his character kept having to just like disengage and run away, so he didn't cast any spells. At the end of it, he's like, I feel like my character didn't do that much, and everybody else is like, what are you talking about? You closed the portal. Where with that, you did the final thing that closed the portal. It was really awesome. So, in the scheme of things, taking a couple of skeletons out of that battle, no big deal. But I still wouldn't want to tell the players, you guys, had it easy. You shouldn't do that. So if you're GMing, you go ahead and fudge rolls, make it easy on the players if you need to, but don't tell them that. Do not tell them that. And don't fudge rolls too much, or they're going to realize you do it. This guy apparently said it 5 times in one session, which is like once an hour, once every half hour, something like that. He fudged rolls and told them he fudged rolls. He took stuff out of the adventure and told them he took stuff out of the adventure because he didn't want to kill the party. So this adventure, this session today, where it was almost a total party kill, and they barely escaped, it was probably an actual total party kill 3 times over. The DM just didn't want to kill them. And now, okay, they escaped. Did they really escape? They fought gibbering mouthers, and they fought some other things, and they were all beat up and bloodied. And these things mind control you and stuff. Like, like they fought 2 of them? Were there supposed to be more in there? I mean, what other ways did he go easy on them? It seems like they really didn't survive, right? They're in an alternate world where they survived, but in the real world, they were killed because the DM shouldn't have been taking it that easy on them. So, anyway, the lesson is, if you're going to take it easy on the players, do it to be nice, do it rarely, and do it behind the screen, right? And that's why I try not to fudge the rolls, because it's just too hard to go easy on them without them seeing you're going easy on them, right? So, yeah, I'll go ahead and alter the story to respond to what the players are doing and make it cool and make it fun and make the players awesome. That's always what you want to do. But don't let them know that you're like cheating to let them be awesome, because then they're not awesome. We want to level up, right? How long is this episode? It's a little long, but let's go ahead and level up. I'm going to just go to Euroburst to make it quicker. I forgot we had a level up, or I would have been doing that while I was talking. I apologize, guys. But yeah, DMing 101, GMing 101. Fake the rolls if you have to, but don't tell people you're faking the rolls. We're going to go ahead and sell all this magic crap that we don't need. And we're going to need to get new enhancements. I'm certainly not going to do that on screen, and I may not do it tonight because it's getting late and I need to get to bed because I have work tomorrow. Fortunately, this semester I didn't set my office hours at 8 in the morning, so I have till 10, but I can't wait till 10 to actually start doing stuff. I've got to write a lecture, and I've got my writing students already turned in their first piece of writing, and I got to grade it. Okay, so we have 2 enhancement slots, and where are we going to put them? Everything needs slots, my gosh. Let's finish Power Shield, and let's go ahead and add 1 slot to Smite. It's just going to take a long time till we get everything slotted out. Alright guys, I'm going to do slots tomorrow, I think. $50 says I'm going to log in and start the next mission, and I'm not going to buy enhancements. So how can I prevent myself from doing that? I don't know. I'll think about it. I'll try to park my character somewhere, like in the enhancement shop, so that I know. Or maybe I'll park her in the university by the the experimental stations where you craft your recipes, because we have a couple of recipes we can use now. We've got 2 level 30 invention accuracies. We've got 1 damage. We've got 1 endurance reduction. We've got a fear, which we could theoretically use, but not quite yet. And we've got a recharge reduction. These are all, and a resist damage. These are all level 30, so I can craft all of these, I think. And we have plenty of salvage in our vault and stuff. The salvage is maxed, but not for long because we're going to do some crafting. So when I come back, we'll have some IOs, we'll have some SOs, and the character will be all set. Until then, guys, I am Scrapperlock, and this has been City of Heroes on the Rebirth server.